Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to PCM22 Career Mode. This is episode 16. I mentioned at the end of last episode that I was going to be quickly pushing through the end of the season. I'm not even sure I'm going to get another race in. The calendar is that light. But a month into the transfer period, here's how things stand. As predicted, World Tour was a bit beyond the reach of what we were growing and developing into. We're not even really very close. But also, as predicted, instead of being right on the edge, just barely making Continental Pro as we did last season, we are comfortable. We're not right to the top, but we are quite comfortable now in Continental Pro. Current ranking, 25th. I'm not going to show you the market, but what's left of the market, there's about 5 riders left that have the quality of my top 3 guys. Nobody beyond what my top 3 guys offer, and plenty below. But again, only about 5 riders left total that are of that quality. So that means, at worst we're moving down a spot, too. If Bengal or Sport Vlaanderen, B&B, one of those teams are able to get one of those 5 guys and it makes a difference, it'll boost them up slightly. But even Iolo, Bardiani, those guys are barely making 3 stars. So they're not, even if they get 1 or 2 of those guys, they're not going to rise significantly. Which means, yes, we are secure, we are in our position. Even if one of our top 3 guys levels up over the next month before the transfer market closes, it should not create a scenario where we suddenly find ourselves rising. Right now we're at about 3.3 to 3.4 stars. And 3.6 is Arkea Samsic. So again, a rise is not going to see us jump not only above them, but above any of the World Tour teams, which all of the existing 18 World Tour teams are all slated to be back. Arkea is not far from this, but it's quite clear that there is a gap between them and us. You can see there's just 2 teams going down. Holdsworth is very, very close to making it as 3 stars solid, is getting you into Continental Pro. 2.95-ish for Tudor. Of course, Tudor, that's one of the most OP Continental teams. Tudor, Burgos, you've got Leopard, of course, are all pretty strong. Euskadi, very surprised to see them down that low. They're definitely the powerhouses of the Continental. But we're looking at a pretty stable market this year. Not much has changed. For us, though, we're going from the 34, 35 spot. Holdsworth, by the way, 36th. That's how close they are. That is how close they are. You can see for these last 2 in, first 2 out, it's so tight amongst them that one of those 5 signings could make that difference. But, not with where we're at. As the big new feature in the game, I've been very curious how this would go. And not exactly the most exciting format that I've ever seen, but we now get to select 3 riders for our development team. So this is going to be for our U23. Now, on my scouted list, a number of riders have signed with senior teams, so they will not be in development squads. I do not think I need to go with the limitation, as these riders are not on the senior squad. I don't need to have the 1 per with the nations, because these are all just potential future signings for us. So therefore, we're going to go with our top 3 highest potential riders for the first set. Home nation seems to be a real factor in a lot of these choices. We pick up 3 more from my list of scouted riders, 3 guys at the top. I've really run out of decent scouted options. Of course, my scouts are very weak. I might have a set of 4, but they don't exactly offer much quality. Getting to the bottom of these riders was rather difficult. Plus, when quite a few of the better signed guys, or better scouted guys, were already signed, what can you do? So as we're kind of getting into this later phase, getting riders 7 through 9 on our list, I've looked at different ways. I've looked at who's the best what we've scouted anyway in terms of evaluation. There are some other 3-star guys out here, but a lot of them, well, we've already signed a couple of them anyway. They don't necessarily have the best quality or potential, and we're looking already at 2021-year-olds that are a bit further on. So looking then at something along the lines of potential, we've already signed the guys that have the higher potential. So what I'm actually doing now with this is I'm starting to expand our possibilities a little bit. But Amir Abbas, mostly being brought in because he's Turkish. If he turns out to be good, then yay for us. And if not, no loss. So same with the Mongolian rider. Maybe we go for the unknown in the Qatari rider as well. It's hard to say who to get from here. But I think it's now starting to look like nation of origin, and getting a unique rider, even though we don't necessarily know about them, is a good option. A rider out of Hong Kong, but he's not an option. Here is the outgoing U23s team, by the way, and none of them were worth signing because there was no potential in the group. There was plenty of 2.5, 3-star talent, but no potential. So nobody gets signed. Toyota? Not sure how that would be with Norwegian. Toyota probably is closest. Anyway, decent climber. Not the only decent climber. In fact, there's, a good 4 of these guys. And they performed well in the U23s this year. But there's no potential. And their climbing was actually better than what we had on the senior team. These guys just aren't going to get any better than they are. So we've reached January. We've got the team now. We've got the new sponsor. And the new sponsor, with a potential increase of 34,000 this coming year, it's plus 10,000. I was hoping for more like 20 to 25,000 on the increase, but it's still plus 10,000 compared to what we would have gotten had we stayed. So with Eurocycling trips, so it is progress. It is going to get us a little bit further along, and actually, this is probably the easiest set of objectives that I've ever had, which actually could mean this may be a fairly quick season, depending on how much we have risen in terms of notoriety. How well known are we, as in how many races are we going to get into? Because we were not top 3 in Continental last year. We were up there, we were 7th or 8th, and now we are 7th or 8th best on paper, which means we should potentially get into that top 2 or 3, whichever the case may be. I think it's top 2 to get the higher acceptance of bids. Well, anyway, sponsor, super forgiving. 2 big objectives, one in February and one at the 1st of May. Eschborn Frankfurt, we are going to get at least one World Tour race this year. Don't know about others just yet, but can't be any worse than last year now. But then we have a huge set of multi-star national championships. Apparently, that's what this team is now known for. National championships. And we've got some demands in these. We've definitely got some demands. That's going to both help and hurt, because we know we'll get some results. And a lot of these are just top 10s. So fairly manageable, but it's going to make for a busy national championship this year. And then our last 3 objectives are all post-August, meaning irrelevant. So we've got 2 races and the national championship. If we only have 1 World Tour race again, then yeah, it's going to be a really quick year. We'll be flying through this one and moving on to the next. But there's our setup, and I think that's going to be fairly manageable, especially when you throw in the squad. Abner Gonzalez has the high popularity already. That's setting us up for making sure that he's in those couple of races, and then we're fairly well set. They're happy with Ben Faisal for Singapore, And yeah, it's going to make for at least a fairly okay squad eval. The results will probably come along, and the registered riders with Abner Gonzalez scheduled for the two major races should be kind of a foregone conclusion, meaning I think this year is an easy one on the sponsor side. And usually when you switch sponsors, it tends to make things more difficult. Current makeup of the team as we enter the season: Oingarang, the last remaining piece from our year one squad. 32, no quality, Guamanian. He's it. He's expiring this year. Bin Faisal in to make the sponsor happy. Very much just a domestique. So is the Malaysian Lakasek. Panamar, the only guy not taking off, not developing. Ton of potential, just not developing. The only other 3.5-star guys now are Anderson and Mikkels. And Anderson's expiring this year. He's the only other rider. We only have 2 expiring contracts, so he's probably going to be out, I would imagine. And then now we're pushing 4.5 stars throughout the team. And we started last year with 1 rider at 4 stars. That's the progress we have made, that now the bulk of the team, outside of a couple domestiques, are all 4 to 4.5 star guys. And we had 1 4.5 star guy at the end of the season. We now have 6 4.5 star guys. Frigo was the one guy. Bogley has leveled up since the end of the year, and apparently is our highest at the moment. And then 4 new guys all coming in at 4.5 stars. In terms of ratings, we went from nothing. We had a 71 was our best. Bogley leveling up now has a 73, and then a bunch of new guys, 73 to 76. So huge plus climbing compared to what we had a year ago. Very strong punch. Throughout the team, half the team is 74 plus, half the team is 75 plus. Time trialing, still a bit of a weakness, though Hagen's gotten a little better there. Gobble rating, also a little bit better than it was. Mikkels was our highest guy. He's now joined. Hagens has moved up. Vandenberg comes in as a decent one, and Vashek, so only 1 additional classics guy. Sprint was our strongest a year ago, and you could see how much stronger it is now. Vandenberg, much stronger than any of the current guys. Pivy, Mikkels, and McKellar are kind of your top backups. Anderson, decent lead out option, especially with that flat rating. Lakasek, on the lower level races, he might get a result here and there. Certainly in his national race, would be expected on flat terrain to win. And Frigo was a key guy for us. No longer. We've definitely gotten stronger in sprinting. A few guys that are decent downhill. That stamina and resistance, a little bit better. Team is far from being super competitive, but it's definitely more well-rounded than it was a year ago, where we really just had a bit of punch and a bit of sprint, semi-capable with both, some wins with both, but both of those are stronger, and then we are much stronger. Classics, at least to an extent, and especially climbing. We picked up quite a few climbers this year, so that's the one area we've really added some depth. Planning was super easy with just 2 primary objectives, and then all the national competitions. These are all the nationals, along with a couple guys that have theirs in the early part of the year. And then I've got my guys already picked out for the 2 races. This is World Championships and Euros for our best riders, who may get an invite to those for their nations, possibly. But otherwise, we're going to leave some things open, hoping that we at least get a few invites to World Tour races, and that'll start to be the focus of our episodes going forward. Otherwise, like I said, we're going to kind of fly through this one, aren't we? Entering scouting for the new season, I figured we had raised our profile enough to find some better scouts. We had the 2 national and 2 regional scouts. I kept 1 national because Southeast Asia is our stomping grounds, and so that seemed like a good retainer. In fact, that one covers all of Asia for us, so that was good. But I let the other one go. I let our 2 regional scouts go, and then looked to hire better scouts. And the only scout that was above a regional ranking out there was the one we had just let go. So nobody bigger wants to sign with us still at this point, which does give me the indication that there's actually still a very good chance that we only get 1 or 2 or 3 World Tour races in the entirety of this year. We didn't build the profile enough last year, even though we did claim some victories. We're still an unknown quantity out there. So I've rehired our Belgian national scout, and then I've gone on and hired 2 more regional scouts, this time from different areas though, because again, with the challenge that we have accepted, right, 1 rider per nation, well, we signed a lot of riders from the nations where those scouts were scouting. So we're scouting different regions this time. Other than Southeast Asia, still very much a thing because there's lots of Southeast Asian nations and we've only signed a few guys. So there's still plenty of options from there. We are now doing all of Africa. We are all doing all of the Americas. And when it comes to Europe this year, doing things a little different. For a couple reasons. One, we've already signed. We already have a Spanish guy, so we did not need a Spanish-Portuguese cover, though we don't have a Portuguese rider on the team. Same with what we have in these other regions. We have a UK guy. We didn't need all of that, so I did something different. And what we've picked up is, well, we had to re-sign that Belgian scout, right? Even though we already have Belgium covered, I've sent him to just 2 regions this time, so we'll see how this works out for us. And in doing so, we've used 3 out of his 6 points, getting Slovenia and Austria, where we don't have any riders from, meaning, hey, there's 2 riders we can sign potentially from this 1 scout. And remember, this year I'm not looking to sign as many riders as we've signed in past years. I'm thinking about the possibility of signing just 3 to 4 bigger names, and that's it. Something to boost the squad, maybe even push us into World Tour, or at least push us towards the top of Continental Pro for next season, and then hopefully develop into World Tour caliber the following year. But anyway, Slovenia and Austria, just the 2 regions. And the main reason for doing that is you double the efficiency bonus. So the scout can detect more riders when he has a reduced workload. So he'll detect more riders in those regions, and then hopefully we can focus on just scouting more select group out of there and getting more detailed accounts of those guys. And maybe we actually finally find somebody good enough to sign to the team and not just to the U23s, because we have this whole U23 structure, and I'm excited to have this setup. But what do you actually get for it? And that's the difference. Now, one key difference, because last year's team had a bunch of 3-star guys and some 2.5-star guys, and this year's team is very similar for that. It's also a bit younger, as it's 18, 19, and our oldest is 21, where last year we had plenty of guys in their early 20s on that squad. So this group, while almost as developed, not quite as developed as the outgoing group, you could see the potential, at least right now, which this is a dynamic potential and it does change. And we had 1 guy from last year's team that I was like, hey, maybe that's our first guy to sign, and he was the one who had his potential downgraded. Well, none of these guys at 4-star potential are good enough, but with the dynamic potential, hopefully 1 or 2 of them could grow to be good enough. And especially as I got a very diverse group here, only a couple Belgian riders, and otherwise, and 1 Spanish rider, which we already have 1 on the senior squad. Outside of those, most of these guys are all from nations that we do not have a rider from. Yes, we do have a Swiss rider right now as well. So, there's 4 guys. But the rest of them are all from nations we don't already have one, which means I would be able to sign them. The others, it's more of just kind of keeping an eye on. Second time mentioning this, one of the biggest things about this season is going to be whether we get some World Tour races or not. Otherwise, it's going to be a really quick year. So here's kind of that first outlook on whether we're going to get in. And you're seeing usual suspects. Dauphiné, not us, but normal teams making it in. Flèche Wallonne had 7 teams invited, including us. So we have made it into at least one additional World Tour race this year. Last year we only made it to 1. Liège-Bastogne-Liège we have been selected for as well. But again, these are the higher numbers, 7 teams getting invited. So the larger number races are getting us in, but not the smaller ones. Paris-Nice, not us. Paris-Roubaix, wow, we're going to go to Paris-Roubaix this year. So there's 3. Tour de France. The Grand Tours, I did not bother. We are not strong enough to compete there yet, nor are we strong enough to handle the workload of a 3-week race in the middle of the season and what that would do to the team in terms of, I don't have the numbers to handle three races lined up at the same time. We don't have those kind of numbers. We can comfortably do 2, not 3. If we have a pinch, just one little stretch, one race, no big deal. But over a 3-week stretch with multiple 3-race periods simultaneously, it's too much. Next season, I feel like we can handle that. So I did not put in for the Grand Tours, but I did put in for all other World Tour races for the year. Our bid, our name. And we've gotten 3, and we had already failed 2. So that's out of 8. 3 out of 8. Tour de France being 1 actually means 3 out of 7, as we did not put our name in. So we are getting some invites this year. We will have some World Tour races to compete in. So we have a Peloton that is already putting pressure on the field in our first objective of the year. It's only half star. It's a very minor objective, but you want to get started on the right foot. So no one is fitness peaked or has this race as an objective since it's only half star, but we do have our best sprinter present, and we have really lucked out with his race day condition today. As we approach the only climb of the day, let's go ahead and get water one final time. We have now 53k to go. Hagen's sick, not feeling too good. In fact, there's 2 riders on the team that are sick, but the other one was Arietta, and it's not showing him sick any longer. So I suppose he just got over it today, but he does have a -3. Maybe still feeling the effect, not showing the icon, but Peloton has split riders off already. A crash has left some riders out. There was a Vanderpool in there, but that was not an M Vanderpool. No Matthew on that one. Does he have a brother in the field? Not one that I know of, but Hagen's trying to make his way through the field. We are in our new look, the BIBD colors. Maroon and gold. Same colors that, well, I went to 2 different high schools, but the first of 2 colors. Popular color scheme for football teams in England. All right, now, the good thing about the Vandenberg thing not only is the bonus to his sprinting, which today is a 79-79, making him quite capable of getting the top 5 that we need, maybe better. But it's going to help immensely with this one climb of the day, which is going to be a tall order for him. But that's 67 mountain, much better than the 63 base rating that he has. Only one lead out rider for him present. I did not bring quite the A team. It's, like the 1.5 team. Pithy, the only lead out rider we've got. He, not the lucky draw like his teammate. He has a -2. Hurting that stamina resistance quite a bit, but not affecting his sprint. We need to make sure he stays put, though, here in the group. Better climber. Should be a little easier on him. Here's Vandenberg going backwards. A little bit harder here. Most of the way up the climb, though. Gonzalez, Vashek hanging out just fine near the top. We've got plenty of good flat ratings, something we did not have in the past. that should give us a better lead up to the finish. And then with only one proper lead out guy, it's going to take some getting used to our new sprint capability with this group. So today, it's good that it's only half-star importance, because it's very possible that we don't get the best out of this. Bin Faisal, he's dropped. The Singaporean, let's see, what would it be? Somebody from Singapore. Singaporean rider, I want to say. Anyway, Bin Faisal, you can see his ratings are quite low. That has led to him getting dropped, serving as the domestique. We do want to protect Pithy with somebody now. Huggins is the natural one to do that, and he's not looking so good. Pithy's the one who should have had an easier time. Of course, we did put more effort in with Vandenberg, but yeah, not a fan of Pithy getting dropped so easily there. Huggins, couldn't wait for him. And let's try to pace him back into the group, because we do need that lead out. Pithy, go ahead and follow Huggins. Huggins, come on, pace up, buddy. Pace up. Group's right there. That is the Peloton. It's got 100. Oh, we are considered in the Peloton now, so just make your way back through. Lost contact again. It's yo-yoing here on the descent. Pithy's got plenty of energy, so it's just about making contact. Huggins, not doing much to help things here at all. That was supposed to be effort up, and he showed no sign of even making half a bike length on anyone. Somebody else made contact with the group, though, so it looks like we will be good. 97 left in the Peloton. 4 left off the front, and they still have a minute 40. That breakaway split up a little bit. I want to say they had 5 or 6 riders, so they lost somebody. But, yeah, that's still a minute and a half advantage. Catching them is not going to be easy at this point. That climb, though, had to put some wear and tear into those legs. No big names. Sergio Henao. So one big name. But once Huggins and Pithy get back up here, we've got to start thinking about forming a train and trying to catch those guys. They are in sight. They are down to a minute 15. Huggins lost Pithy there for a moment. 17k to go. I don't think it's too soon. No, it's down to a minute. We still have a good chance of catching him. But 16k out. You know what? Let's reset here. Let's wait just a little bit longer. Vandenberg looking fantastic after that climb. Somebody's chasing hard, bringing us back. We're good. We are good. We're down 1 rider, and Huggins needs to gel now. Okay, we're trying to see an attack. These are your punchers. The Classics riders making their late move. And they've gone clear, so let's just go ahead and do it now. It's 12k. It's close enough. So Vandenberg, obviously, to follow Pithy. Who's got the best flat rating? Gonzalez, 74, probably looking the freshest, so yes. Abner Gonzalez will do that lead out, and then Vashek, Arietta, and Huggins. Just in terms of positioning, we'll use them up while we can. We have to go hard immediately, though. Arietta, getting things started. Will not last long, those two. So it's going to be the Vashek show fairly soon. Arietta already spent. On to Huggins. Neither have anything left, so we're not going to just try to put them onto the back to break toe. Vashek's out of red bar, but keep chasing. We're okay. We only have that 1 lead out guy, so we don't want to go too hard too fast. Vashek can still pull fairly well right now. One rider trying to attack. Okay, now it's 4.5. Now we can go with Gonzalez. And Vashek does have that little bit to help us out. Okay, on to Abner Gonzalez. Okay, he's going to start his sprint. Soft sprint. He's not much of a sprinter, so he shouldn't do too much damage. And he's helping pull us back. Okay, on to Pithy, 1.8k. Catching those front 5 is going to be difficult. Final kilometer, and on to Vandenberg. Can he catch that front group? Because that's 5. That's 5. That's going to be a hard catch. Vandenberg, clear, going through. He's going to catch 2. Ballerini has taken the win ahead of Walscheid and Turgis, and Vandenberg's going to get 4th. He wins the sprint, but he does not win the race, as that breakaway, told you that breakaway was going to be a hard catch, and it was. We've timed it right to win that sprint, though. That's an important thing. Pulling that back, that was worrying because of Bin Faisal, Huggins, Arietta were all quite done, so we didn't have a lot of firepower. I was nervous about pulling that back under the setup and still having the ability to sprint. We relied on a little help from other teams. Didn't bring my strongest team here. If I had brought my strongest team here, we would have been in a much better position to pull that back. But that group didn't have enough left in the tank, and that allowed us to pull things back, with the exception of 3 guys. But we get 4th. 4th is enough. Well, that's 1 race in the books for this year, and it is a success. Could have been more, could have been less, depending on how we play that, right? We pull those guys back, we don't have enough left to sprint. We don't pull those guys back, we have enough to win the sprint, which we did, but it's only for 4th place. Either way, it probably could have been about the same net result. You sacrifice your own race to take away the sprint, or do you save your race and win the sprint, but then sacrifice either way? Either option has its ups and downs. For us, we got the top 5, and in the circumstances, that's enough. That is enough. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I'm excited about the season to come, especially with the fact that we are going to have some additional World Tour races this year. I've already had a couple more denials. So technically 3 out of 10 at this stage. Either way, it's a better result than what we had last year, which was 1 out of all. And, what is that? 35, 40? 1 out of 40? 3 out of 10 is not bad. We still have maybe 30 races left that we have potential to get in. Even if we only get 3 more out of those 30, 6 races is going to be a lot better than the one we were able to do last year. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.